everybody. Emily Reynolds with emilyreynolds.net here, and little baby Bruiser. Bruiser is one of the most special living creatures in my life. I have 4 dogs. Bruiser is my first dog I've ever had in my whole life. He is 13 years old, or 13 years young, and he's very healthy. The reason that I have him here today is because Bruiser and I have a lot in common. We both have overcome very serious illness. We both have gotten off medication. We both eat clean, we train mean, and we do not believe in the medical profession except for emergencies, and we don't believe that prescription drugs are the answer. And we believe you can conquer anything. Right, Bruiser? Because I had Graves' disease, and I have been completely symptom-free for 6 years and conquered Graves, and Bruiser here was diagnosed with epilepsy, or he had seizures, took medication for years. The medication gave him Cushing's disease, which had the side effect of giving him more seizures. Bruiser was very sick. He was very overweight, very lethargic, and very unhappy. Very similar to the way I was when I was at the peak of my Graves' disease. So after I healed Graves' disease, I decided I was going to do the same for my dog, and it took me a while to figure it out. But if getting off medication and eating organic food and supplementing worked for me, it would work for Bruiser too. So Bruiser takes the same Apex Energetics holistic supplements that I take. He just takes different ones for his adrenals and things like that, and to support bone health and different issues he has going on. But he's super happy and healthy, and I'm going to talk today on my video about medications that I was on and what they did to me, my own personal experience, and what I do now since I do not have a thyroid. Okay, so I did have my thyroid irradiated. I was told that if I didn't, I would be on disability. I would need to go on disability, and I would probably have a heart attack by the age of 30. That's exactly what I was told. Super awesome to hear something like that, right? Fear factor. So a lot of medical doctors do use the fear factor. And the fear factor worked on me at the time. I was very scared because my symptoms were extremely serious, and my life was 100% turned upside down from Graves' disease. So I believed that I could have a heart attack. It was up to me if I was going to go on disability or not. Sometimes I feared if my job ever found out how bad I was when I was working with special needs kids, I thought that they would maybe put me on disability. So I hid that obviously from everybody. I kept that very well guarded. It was like my little secret how sick I really was. But during the period of time that I was going to see medical doctors, there was a period of time I went every 3 weeks, and I would get blood work drawn, they'd check my heart rate. My heart rate was up to 180 beats per minute twice when I went to the doctor, and I was immediately hospitalized, and I wasn't drinking caffeine or anything. That's a lie. I drank Diet Coke at the time, but I wasn't overdosing on Diet Coke. That heart rate was from the Graves' disease, which anybody with Graves, you probably have had the same type of issue before, or any kind of thyroid issue. It can make your heart rate very elevated. So I was put on several different medications: Synthroid, levothyroxine, Cytomel, and some beta blockers, some medication for my heart. I don't remember the names of all of them. I remember one I Googled and I found out it was a steroid. And I was like, what? Because my feet were getting bigger. My feet are about a 7 in sneakers, 7.5 sometimes. And they're wider, kind of like club foot, like Flintstone feet. But I went up to a size 10 in a boot and a size 9, 9.5 in a shoe. So I literally went up 2 shoe sizes because I looked like I had cankles. My feet were so swollen. I had pitting edema. The medication never, ever helped. None of these medications ever helped my Graves' symptoms. They actually just made me worse. And it was extremely frustrating to go to doctors. So between all the medications that I was on, it was just making me worse. Nothing ever helped me. I just had symptom after symptom. And you start to feel very frustrated, and sometimes you question yourself and wonder if you're crazy when you go to a doctor and you tell them of all the symptoms, and they either tell you that that's a normal side effect or that that's not a usual side effect and they've never heard that before. So everything from, it wasn't just the bloating and the weight gain. To be honest with you, the weight gain was the least of my worries. Literally nothing compared to being depressed, having anxiety, getting angry, being so sad for absolutely no reason when you're not that kind of a person. So the side effects were pretty severe. We've all seen the commercials, right? You go on an antidepressant and a side effect is you might want to kill yourself. It's really insane. So this whole myriad of drugs that I was on, nothing was working. And it became very, very clear to me that for me, doctors were not the way. So if you ever go to my website, emilyreynolds.net, and you go up to the far left-hand tab, it says About Me. It's my story. I tell you in that story that I fired my doctors, and I did because they needed to be fired. They weren't doing jack squat for me. They were actually making me worse. So, one thing, my only regret really in life, honestly, that I can think of, is that I did have my thyroid removed. Because again, they told me you're going to have to get your thyroid removed, you're going to have a heart attack by the time you're 30. Well, I'm 36, never had a heart attack, and I'm feeling amazing. But I did get my thyroid removed because I didn't know that there were other options. At that time that I made that choice, I thought that was the only option I had. I didn't know about holistic treatments. I didn't know the power of food as true medicine and true healing. So I did get my thyroid removed. It was a horrible experience. Someone comes in like in a spacesuit, hands you something with tongs. You have to take it and go out the back door. And then they say, you know, radar detectors might go off when you're driving down the freeway. You can't be around anybody. You got to wash your shower, wash your toilet. When you use it for 3 days, basically stay away from any human life because you're that toxic from the medication. So when I took the pill to dissolve my thyroid, they overdosed me. And they told me, we didn't want you to have to come back because sometimes we don't give enough. So we gave you just a little bit more so we could make sure we really blasted the crap out of your thyroid. And boy, did they. So they blasted the crap out of my thyroid. Thyroid gone. Okay? I think all my problems are solved. Well, it didn't. We'll talk about that in another video. But it only got worse. And then I continued medication, and that's when I finally got frustrated and said, medication is not for me. There has to be another way. No medical doctor ever told me about Armour Thyroid. Okay? When I discovered Armour Thyroid, literally within 3 weeks on Armour Thyroid, I felt so much better. I do want to note that by the time I had gotten on Armour Thyroid, I was already investigating holistic ways of healing, organic food, cleansing, proper supplementation. So I was doing other things in my life that were helping, but there was no solid like, oh my gosh, this is making the difference until I started taking Armour Thyroid. So I did get that from a holistic practitioner. My medical doctor did not want to give me Armour. When I went back to him, I basically had to force him. I said, why didn't you tell me about this? This stuff is amazing. I'm going to put Bruiser down. And I said, I want it. So I did end up getting it from a compound pharmacy, and that's what I use. And I absolutely love it. So if you have never heard of it, and you have a thyroid condition, you have Graves', you have Hashimoto's, or you need to supplement with thyroid for whatever reason, or you have a loved one that needs to, pass that name on to them and let them do their research. But one thing I encourage you is don't stop just when your medical doctor says no. Because they said no to me, and I insisted, and I found a way. And there are always holistic practitioners. You pay out of your pocket, and they're a lot more open to those kind of things. So do your research. That's just my little tidbit for today. Medication, prescription medication, and stuff made in the laboratory didn't work for my thyroid, and it sure as hell didn't heal anything in my body. It only hurt me. But Armour was the way for me, and that's what I'm going to stick with. So hopefully that tip will help you guys. Thanks for listening. Thanks for sharing. I appreciate all the emails. There's coming more and more emails every single day from people, and I love hearing your stories. And I'm glad that you feel like there is someone that you can relate to that isn't just sick and miserable. There's someone you can relate to who got better. So if I can do it, so can you. All right, talk to you soon. Bye.